Coming to you live in Richmond, Virginia, it's the USL Pro Semifinals as the number 4 seeded Richmond Kickers play host to the number 8 seed Harrisburg City Islanders. Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Mark Bushman, and normally you hear me on color commentary, but because Mike Neville is not here tonight, you're stuck with me doing the play-by-play. Fortunately, is someone that we haven't seen for a while, USL Pro player Ryan Hines. Ryan, thanks for being here, buddy.
Absolutely.
You know, when the playoffs began last weekend, I think you could probably count on one hand the number of people who thought we'd see Richmond hosting this game tonight. I think most people thought that Richmond would be on the road against the number 1 seed Orlando playing down there, but Harrisburg City had other plans by shocking the Lions 1-0, and I don't remember set in the playoffs. You've been around for a long time as well, if you don't mind me saying.
Yeah.
And I want, what are your thoughts about that game and about tonight's game?
Oh, it's quite incredible, Mark. You know, you talk about an Orlando team who was so dominant at home. You almost everybody who watches USL soccer kind of wrote off the Harrisburg City Islanders, and it's kind of a dangerous game to play, especially when it's the Harrisburg City Islanders who are kind of upset kings for the most part, and they're kind of coming into this game here at Richmond, who's been dominant at home as well, almost coming in as underdogs as well in this game.
Yeah, you know, you've got experience playing for both of them. For head coach Bill Betcher for Harrisburg, and he's got a particular kind of mindset that he does that's changed. Can you talk just for a minute about that?
Yeah, and to be honest, as far as Bill versus Lee Kalishaw as coaches, Bill Betcher is very, very different. He's always kind of had leaders inside of the locker room, have riled everybody up for him, so he hasn't had to say too much, and I'm sure it's not very different from this team because it's kind of building based on his coaching style. As far as his mindset coming into this game and his team's mindset, from my understanding, Bill likes to play against teams that spread the field pretty wide because it leaves the game wide open for his counter-attacking style with some pace in Morgan Langley and a couple other players. And that's exactly what the Richmond Kickers like to do at home. They like to play a little bit more possession style. They've got a very large, very wide field here. And the Kickers like to spread it wide and get everybody a touch on the ball and attack from there.
Yeah, you know, they've got a couple of players that you know, really have done some good damage this year. You know, you got Jimmy McLaughlin, he's got 6 goals. Morgan Langley has got 6 goals. Jan Ekro has got 6 assists. They are missing Claudio Bouquet, who was called back to Benfica.
Yeah.
And then Robbie Dershang is unfortunately suspended tonight because of a red card that he got last week against Orlando, which there was a little bit of controversy about that. I know Coach Betcher was not thrilled about the timing because it came late in the game on that. So that does hurt Harrisburg a little bit, but they do have several players on loan from Philadelphia Union tonight, so it should be very interesting. And I think Harrisburg, you know, they came in as the number 8 seed, but they sure haven't played like that, as you mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely. The Richmond Kickers, they've been very, very good so far, and I have to mention, Mark, just to kind of spin off, Clesio Bouquet, obviously Bouquet, when they were down against Rochester up in Rochester, within 5 minutes he scored 2 goals to help the Harrisburg City Islanders there. They're also missing Pedro Ribeiro as well, who was called back from the Philadelphia Union. The Richmond Kickers missing Colin Martin, who's been a fixture as well, scored last week against Charleston, but they do have Connor Shinosky in here from DC United, so they've got a little bit of a deeper bench as compared to what they had last week. They've got some players who are a little more fit.
That they don't have Matthew Delicott again. He is going to be on the bench. He might be able to come in later, but he's still not fully fit. You know, I talked to Coach Kalishaw before the game, said, you know, it's just one of those things. He's been training, but there's a difference between being, you know, training fit and then field fit. As you well know, you've had some injuries as well.
Certainly.
So somebody like a Delicott, it's nice that he can come in off the bench. Obviously, Kalishaw's hoping he's not going to have to.
Yeah, I suspect that they'll try not to use Matthew Delicott. Maybe if they're down a goal here and they're trying to save something at the end. My understanding is that he's got about 45 minutes in him, so, you know, obviously if they happen to go to extra time or overtime or anything like that, I'd probably suspect he'd get 25 minutes of regulation.
Well, he only needed 17 seconds last week to get the goal for Richmond, to get the game winner there, so that's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good for that one. So anyway, what we're going to do real quick there, introducing the starting lineups for the Richmond Kickers. Then we're going to be doing the national anthem. We'll come back. We'll give you those starting lineups as well as referees for tonight's contest between the Richmond Kickers and the Harrisburg City Islanders.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, we ask that you all please rise and we move your hats for our national anthem to be sung tonight by Monica Schultz.
By the dawn's
Okay, it's here tonight's starting lineups for the visiting Harrisburg City Islanders. In goal is number 1, Nick Noble. Defense number 20, Neil Schaefer. Defender number 4, Cody Andrews. Defender number 2, Richie Marquez. Defender number 16, Matt Bonner. Midfield number 7, Jan Ekra, who has 6 assists, as we mentioned earlier. Midfield number 8, Jose Baril. Midfield number 5, Jameel Hardware. And also in midfield number 15, Morgan Langley, who we talked about, has got 6 goals. Up top is number 18, Jimmy McLaughlin, who also has 6 goals. And when they played here just a few months ago, Ryan, he's probably the most dangerous player on the pitch, I think. And also at forward is number 27, Antoine Hopino. Now for Richmond, in goal is number 1, Ryan Taylor. And the defenders are some familiar faces. Number 2, William Yambi. Number 23, Sasha Gorez. Number 18, Alex Lee. Number 26, Connor Shinosky, who is on loan from DC United, as Ryan mentioned. Also in midfield is number 28, Samuel Asante. Also number 4, Luke Vercoloni, and he's the captain. Number 27, Shea Spitz, who was not in uniform last week. He had a little bit of an injury, but he's ready to go. Also midfield number 11, George Davis, the 4th. And up top, number 17, he's made a remarkable recovery after being out for so long because of his concussion issue. And the other person that's on loan from DC United is number 15, Kyle Porter. And the Richmond Kickers are coached by Lee Kalishaw. Harrisburg is coached by Bill Betcher. And our referees for tonight's contest are Mark Gorek, James Conley, Peter Manikowski, and Danielle Shesky. So, Ryan, are you ready? I love playoff soccer.
I am certainly ready. And this is, might I add, that this is a colossal rivalry between the two teams as well. You kind of got what, in my opinion, after playing in Harrisburg, is kind of more of a blue-collar type of team. And when I played there back in 2008, that was kind of the feel of it, playing against almost the elitist Richmond Kickers. So it's always quite interesting. You know, there's always a little bit of blood boiling from the Harrisburg side of things. As far as Richmond playing at home, you never know what to expect with the Kickers.
Well, you know, like we said, Connor Shinosky being on loan from DC United, he and Yambi, I think, have a great understanding and a great connection. So I think it was very important that he be here tonight. They played very well throughout the season. Like I said, they really, really know each other. And with Henry Kalunji going down earlier with an ACL injury, you know, it was more important that Shinosky be here on a regular basis for Richmond. And like you said, you know, last week Colin Martin was here for DC. Maybe the best player on the pitch for large stretches of it, but he's with DC tonight. So they have Kyle Porter. Kyle's had really good success with Richmond this year.
Yeah, and might I add, Tashan Hanley's also back from national duty here as well. So they've also got more options, the Richmond Kickers, up top.
Yeah, Hanley's one of those guys, Ryan, who it seems like whenever he's on the field, he only needs to be on the field for a couple minutes where he's got some kind of a chance, whether he's scoring or having an assist or just being around the goal. It's great to have somebody like that off the bench.
Absolutely.
We are just about ready to go here. What an awesome night for soccer, too. Ryan, we're about 75 degrees, a nice little breeze up here.
Oh, it's absolutely incredible. And what both coaches will probably tell each team and every player is that you can run all night in a night like tonight, that you shouldn't expect anybody to really go tired anywhere near halftime.
Yeah, that's one of the questions I wanted to ask you. Having played in games like this before, Ryan, when you're the visiting team and when you're the road team, what's your mentality coming into this game? Are you maybe a little more cautious if you're the visiting team, or like you said, because of the weather, do you kind of just throw things to the wind and just go for it?
It's a good question, because I think, especially for the Richmond Kickers, I think going up a goal early is huge, especially against this Harrisburg City Islanders team, who's kind of not done so well when they've gone down a goal. Most teams really don't do well, but the Harrisburg City Islanders team, whether it's youthfulness or whether it's inexperience or, you know, who knows what really it is, but the Richmond Kickers are going to try to look on and kind of capitalize on that very, very early for Harrisburg. The idea is to be a little bit more cautious, a little more defensive-oriented in the beginning of the game, not give up something early, and they'll grow into the game and they'll gain more and more confidence.
Here's a throw-in for Harrisburg. Won by Lee, out of bounds. I think that's going to be a very interesting matchup as well. I think Alex Lee, as we've mentioned, Lee and Garez are two of the outside backs that love to get forward for Richmond and get some quality service. They weren't really able to do that for large stretches against Charleston last week because John Wilson and Griffin did such a great job for Charleston of keeping them back on their heels. So I think that's going to be, if you're Bill Betcher, you're taking a look at that and you want to make sure you take that away from Richmond. I think that's such a big part of their game. Vercoloni to Asante. Garez looking for Isley. Oh, off the post. The ball had gone out, but Yeisley somehow got behind the defense, and Nick Noble, he misread that ball, Ryan. It looked like he was going to play it, and then he was going to let it go out of bounds. He couldn't decide which he wanted to do. Yeisley almost got around him for that.
And that's the one thing about Jason Yeisley is he's got tireless energy. He continuously works hard up there, and you typically think of a striker or a forward who's kind of just going to be a little bit lazy, only work from side of the 18 to the other side of the 18, but Jason Yeisley really tracks everything down, whether it's into the corners, and that creates problems, especially for central defense. And you've got players like Shea Spitz, who's running on after Yeisley's balls and opening up all of the, or actually running into the space that Jason Yeisley's opened up. It gets really dangerous.
Yep. Foul on the outside touchline. This will be a free kick for Harrisburg.
Free kick coming up for Harrisburg.
Harrisburg taking their time. And McLaughlin's not happy about that. So he was fouled. Ecker with the ball. There's McLaughlin. Schaefer sends a ball in. It's cleared away by Yambi. And Spitz. Vercoloni with it. Sante back to Vercoloni and out to Yambi. George Davis the fourth. And center ball into Asante. Out to Porter. Good action there. Good work from Richmond throughout the midfield there. They get their first corner of the game.
Absolutely. Great movement by George Davis IV coming all the way from the left-hand side. Obviously, defenders focusing more on the ball than George Davis IV's movement. And Kyle Porter almost connecting with George Davis IV there.
And Richmond with the short corner there trying to catch Harrisburg off guard. There's a ball in from Spitz. And Harrisburg tried to counter there. Here's Vercoloni.
Almost a mishap inside of the box as one of the Harrisburg players tried to clear it off, and it wound up hitting off his other player.
Here's McLaughlin. He's got two on him. And loses the ball. Out to Davis. To Porter. And good work from Harrisburg to win that ball back.
And this is where Harrisburg is dangerous, is when they get the ball and Richmond's out a little bit, a little more exposed. That's when Harrisburg really wants to capitalize on the speed and a little bit more of the counter-attacking style, which Richmond actually has been known for as well.
There's Lee McLaughlin's take. Lee somehow wins that ball. I thought McLaughlin had that. And here's Spitz. Looking to break Yeisley on the right.
And he has absolutely no support there as well.
Does a good job of holding on to it and finding Shea Spitz. On off the post again. Spitz had no ball. Wasn't able to put it away. Here's Porter. Good pressure from Richmond early on. And here comes Harrisburg on the counter.
The pressure on Harrisburg's back line is immense right now. That's 2 times off the post, and Richmond's coming close here in the first 10 minutes. And you think that Harrisburg, their ideal focus is to make sure that their defense is solid and in tip-top shape.
Harrisburg switches fields. A little more openings there. Tried to find Hopino there.
And a poor touch by Alex Lee causes a corner there.
Yeah, uncharacteristic. Here's a good opportunity for Harrisburg, who's dodged the bullet twice in the first 7 minutes.
You know, Mark, and in the first 7 minutes, obviously, coming close to scoring almost 2 times, it means absolutely nothing at this point in the game. Just because if you're not taking your chances, you're not capitalizing on it, it doesn't really mean much of anything. And something as easy as a goal here by Harrisburg could easily shift the momentum back into Harrisburg's favor.
Looks like Barill's going to take the corner. He's getting her to send it in. And a miss hit there by George Davis IV. That went straight to Ryan Taylor. A couple miss hits by the Richmond defense there. Trying to spring Porter, and there he is in. You know, Ryan, that's the third time that there's been a miscommunication there.
Absolutely.
But like you said, Richmond's unable to capitalize so far, but you can't keep giving them chances.
Absolutely, but you can see a quick distribution there by Ryan Taylor all the way out to Kyle Porter, almost catching the Harrisburg back line by surprise. And you can see Richmond's game is also to counterattack. Obviously, they're going to pull it back and play a little bit more possession here at home, but Richmond is a counterattack team as well.
No foul. Collision between the two players, just going for the ball. There's Davis in the midfield. He knocks it out to Shinosky. Back to Davis. Switch fields. Garez is looking to go on the left. He gets the ball, receives it.
And you can see right away Harrisburg's not allowing any easy delivery by Sasha Garris, who's got a pinpoint accurate left foot. Yep. They're getting wide and high on Sasha Garris before he can even get the first touch and putting the pressure on him.
Here's Vercoloni. Bad touch from Asante there, leads to a turnover. Here's Harrisburg.
And Mark, I think the key for the Richmond Kickers is really Samuel Santi. If Samuel Santi, who's been able to dictate games all throughout the course of the season, can do that in this game, I think Richmond's got a great opportunity. And for Harrisburg, it's the same thing. It's can they shut down Samuel Asante, who can engineer the entire midfield for Richmond and can kind of design plans and plays. Even though he doesn't add too much statistically, he adds a lot of intangible factors as keeping the momentum and almost the tempo like an orchestrator for the Richmond Kickers.
There's Hardware on the ball. No score, 10 minutes in between this semifinal game between Richmond and Harrisburg. We thank those of you that are on YouTube watching this game. And after this game, you've got the second half of the semifinals with the Sacramento Republic FC going against the LA Galaxy 2.
I think that's about the second time that Harrisburg's tried to find Morgan Langley on that right-hand side against Sasha Garris, who's actually, it's a big mismatch as far as pace-wise. Sasha Garris is a little bit of an older player, not as pacey as he might have been when he was younger, to say the least, if he was pacey when he was younger. But Morgan Langley, who's an extremely pacey player, and Harrisburg's looking to isolate Sasha Garris, and it's quite difficult. Sasha, not as pacey, but wise player, and puts himself in great positions.
Asante trying to find the ice leaves, posting up. Good little cheeky back heel there. Couldn't quite connect with Porter.
And that's the thing, isn't it, Mark? When you fool all the defenders, sometimes you fool your players as well. Kyle Porter not even coming close to expecting that.
It's a foul on Asante. Quick start from Harrisburg. Here comes McLaughlin. He's looking for some support. Looking for Schaefer. Back to McLaughlin. He likes to take people on there.
Great block by Yambi.
Yeah. Looked like Jamel Hardware had an open look there, and Yambi showed up and knocked that out.
And right away, you can see that Harrisburg's outside midfielders. You got Jimmy McLaughlin and you've got Morgan Langley. They like to take players on, and that's a key for Harrisburg. Get the ball wide, take players on, see if they can come in on their stronger foot, or see if they can put a cross in.
Yeah, when Harrisburg was here a few months ago, I thought Jimmy McLaughlin was probably the best player on the field, and He's always been very good, always been very dangerous against Richmond. So you're exactly right. They want to get him isolated with some of these Richmond defenders. They like those odds. Here's Alex Lee. George Davis, the fourth, with the shot. It's blocked by Harrisburg.
Couple miscues from Harrisburg not being able to clear the ball. A few minutes ago, one clearance coming right off of another player. You have that play right there as well, where they're not able to clear their lines. There was a corner kick that kind of dropped inside of the box as well. So there's a couple times they're not able to clear their lines, and that could be costly.
It's a good thought from Spitz there. It was just a little too far for Davis.
Your attention, please. We have a vehicle with its lights on. License plate TD ODU. A maroon Ford Expedition.
There. Noble with the goal kick.
ODU. Maroon Ford Expedition. Your lights are on.
Usually a free ball won by Harrisburg there. Foul on Harrisburg. And back into play quickly from Richmond. Here's Asante. That's a Porter. Nope. Intercepted. And here comes Harrisburg. Ekra. And Schaffer.
And you can see here, Harrisburg's when Richmond has everybody behind the ball, Harrisburg's playing a little bit slower of a tempo. It's when they've got Richmond caught out that they're going to play a little bit higher of a tempo. Richmond's trying to keep the tempo nice and high, playing a quick free kick there early on.
And here's Hardware with the ball. Nice run. Here's Schaffer. I'm trying to knock this in there. And Taylor catches it.
And there's Ryan Taylor with a quick release, trying to keep the tempo nice and high, trying to tire out Harrisburg a little bit. And they've got Harrisburg caught out. They've got three guys hanging up top. You've got Morgan Langley, and you've got the other two. I believe that's Hardware as well.
There's Davis with a good ball in. He was looking for Spitz or Yeisley. Missed him by about a foot. Throw in for Harrisburg.
Yeah, Shea Spitz put himself in a great area. I think it was just a little bit too high for him.
Schaefer with the throw. And it's won by Lee. And here comes Hardware. Hoppino's there. Good track back by the Richmond defender. But it looked like Hardware and Hoppino had a nice little 1-2 going there.
Yeah. And Hoppino did very well in the very beginning to hold on to that ball. It was kind of a lashed ball out. I believe it was from Schaefer. Just kind of knocking it out because he was under pressure. And Hoppino wound up getting there, keeping possession.
And here's Vercoloni to Asante. And out to Shinosky. Harrisburg with 10 guys behind the ball. So it's going to be a little tough for Richmond to try and break them down. And they almost did. And here comes Harrisburg on the break. That's what they want. Quick counter-attacking style.
Oh, beautiful ball.
There's Langley. Going up against Lee. He's got him to the end line. Langley's still with the ball. Still with the ball. Is able to find McLaughlin.
Well done by Jimmy McLaughlin at the top of the box. A little bit of composure, just a little bit of a shimmy with a step over. Gained himself an extra yard. Unfortunately, it was just a little too easy for Ryan Taylor.
Credit to Morgan Langley, though, for winning the ball that he seemed to have lost once or twice and stayed with it and was able to get the ball to McLaughlin in the first place.
Absolutely, and it's those players who have quick little feet almost where it seems like the ball's attached to their feet. It's hitting off of – defenders are coming in trying to win the ball from Morgan Langley, and it's hitting off of his shins, and it's going right into his path. You know, longer strides, and maybe a defender nicks it out or goes off of his feet, but Morgan Langley with those quick little feet just keeping the ball, and it actually knocks off his shins and goes straight into his run.
And here's Harrisburg with it. 17th minute, no score between Richmond and Harrisburg City.
And Harrisburg just taking the sting out of the game at this point, seeing if they can put their foot on it, keep a little bit of possession in the back.
And Schaefer loses it. Here's Asante. Vercoloni mistouch there. Here comes Harrisburg.
A couple of poor giveaways from Luca Vercoloni in the first 17 minutes of the game, and those are not necessarily in his character to do that, but it kind of stops the flow of the game. And here's Harrisburg getting the ball back, kind of taking the flow out of it, taking the sting out of it.
Interception by Davis there. Here comes Richmond. Here's Shea Spitz. In the middle, cleared out by Harrisburg. There's McLaughlin, unable to win it. Here's Asante. Back to Vercoloni. Looking for Spitz, and he looks for Kyle Porter. There, and here comes Harrisburg again, looking for counter. Here comes Langley. Schaefer with the overlap. And there's Hardware. That's a foul on Asante. That's the second one from Asante. He's getting his verbal now. I think if he gets another one, Brian, I would not be surprised to see him get a yellow card. There's two fouls that he's gone in behind on the player to commit. So normally, and he's already getting his, like I said, he's getting his verbal. I think if he sees another one in this half, he might see yellow. And
credit to Hardware as well, being able to hold off Samuel Asante there. He just kind of showed a little bit of the strength that he's got. He almost showed the ball and almost lost it there, and he was just able to hold him off with some upper body strength.
Langley on the outside. Again, had to take on two Richmond defenders. Here's Hardware. And out to Porter.
And I think what you're seeing with Harrisburg is they're going to interchange their outside midfielders. Both Jimmy McLaughlin and Langley are both right-footed players, so they're going to kind of switch it up. One's going to go hit on the right-hand side, his natural side as a winger. The other one's going to come on the left-hand side, hopefully with the idea to put it onto his right foot, bring it into the middle, and possibly have a strike. So I think they're going to just keep switching from time to time.
And what kind of effect does that have if you're playing defense for Richmond?
It makes it a little bit harder for Alex Lee and both Sasha Garris to kind of get a pattern of what these guys are trying to do when they're taking them on 1v1. So you don't get used to it, but, obviously at this level with both Morgan Langley and McLaughlin, they're not going to have a specific pattern. They're going to kind of almost pretend to have a pattern and go a little bit astray and go the opposite way, so you can't really learn a pattern. But if one's having success on the right-hand side, sure enough, they're going to keep it that way. If they're both not really having success, they're going to switch it up.
Langley looking for McLaughlin there. I was hoping, excuse me. And it's going to be a corner for Harrisburg.
Put William Yambi in quite an awkward position running back towards his own goal. Very, very difficult position. It was actually a very, very good ball by Morgan Langley to see that out.
The corner for Harrisburg. This is their second of the evening.
You see absolutely no Richmond players attacking.
Oh, just over the top. That was Richie Marquez with that.
And Mark, we've said it for the past, 1-2 years at this point, that Richmond's always susceptible on free kicks, on any sort of set pieces coming into the box, and you can tell Richmond's quite nervous about Harrisburg's size and possibly potential inside of the box.
Here's Isley, able to keep it in bounds, shielding himself from the defender. He's got two on him down there, and Harrisburg winds up with the win.
No team really has any sort of rhythm in this game so far. It's kind of a back-and-forth game. Nobody's really got tempo or rhythm. They're not able to really put their foot on the ball and keep possession. It's almost a trading of turnovers at this point.
Yeah, it is. Do you think that might be nerves?
I don't really think so. I think it's just the style of both teams, both counter-attacking teams, and they're kind of just trading that at this point.
Spitz fights through a foul. Out wide to Garres on the overlap. Can he get there? He's got some wheels there, Ryan.
So you say.
That's a pretty bad foul there with Garres, and is a dangerous opportunity for Richmond.
and not overly bad of a foul, but I think Sasha Garris kind of makes that look a little bit worse than what it really is. It was really just coming in, using a little bit of body, but Sasha Garris making it, selling it a little bit to say.
Yep, that was Burrill with the foul.
And it's in a tough position as well because do you shoot this? Do you cross this? If Sasha Garris is on the ball, he's going to be looking to cross this ball in. If it's Kyle Porter over there or George Davis IV, he's going to be looking to shoot this as a right-footed player.
I think from here, I think the smart thing to do, I believe, would probably be to put this on frame.
I've seen Sasha Garris over the past 3 or 4 years try to get this particular shot over the wall and at the near post.
Smith Davis. And into the wall. The wall does its job. And here's Alex Lee on the ball. Tries to set her back in. There are Richmond players there.
And I think both Richmond players there kind of collided with each other and got in their own way. Sounded like the crowd here was looking for some shouts of a penalty, but it was kind of clear that wasn't the case.
Yeah, Yambi and Noble got into a collision. The foul was Yambi, but it looks like maybe he gotten poked in the eye. And Yambi does not go down easily, so if he's down on the turf...
No, he certainly doesn't. And you start to wonder, obviously with all this talk in football and with all this talk in FIFA World Cup as well about concussions, what sort of impact this has, because the referee waved William Yambi on waved the trainer on rather quickly. So you start to wonder if that might be a possible head injury. Mark, you can actually see down on the sidelines, you can see almost all of Harrisburg players are getting water. Bill Betcher's talking to them. As far as the Richmond kickers, I'm not sure if they're used to this heat. It's not even that hot, but used to this type of climate, whether it's the humidity. Richmond kickers players aren't really coming over to the sideline, really needing to get much water or anything to that extent, but Harrisburg's kind of taken this as an opportunity to regroup and get some water.
Well, they gave up a couple of opportunities in the first 10 minutes where the defenders were misjudging the balls, and Yeisley and Spitz both had opportunities. I think, Ryan, though, over the last 10 or 15 minutes, like you said, it's been a little sloppy. There have been some turnovers, but I haven't seen the gaps and the mistakes in the backfield for Harrisburg that we saw in those first few minutes. So looks like they're settling down a little bit. And like you said, using an opportunity like this to regroup.
And I think they're still in the very early stages of kind of feeling each other out, because for me, in my opinion, of what this game would be coming into it, is more of a slugfest, more of counterattacking style, very much end-to-end type of stuff. And it seems as though Harrisburg's plan is really to slow this game down, take the sting out of it, take any sort of momentum or rhythm that Richmond has an opportunity to build, and just kind of put their thumb on that a little bit. Good news is that William Yambi's up and jogging a little bit. It does look like he's kind of holding a little bit of something to the side of his face, whether that was an elbow from Noble, who certainly unintentional.
Oh, Harrisburg wins the ball there. It's Hardware.
Hardware again showing a little bit of his upper body strength, holding Luke Vercoloni off.
Here's Burrill. Looking, he finds McLaughlin out there on the left. Good ball in. And headed out by Richmond. There's Asante. Out to Gares. And here's Gares on the left side. Switching fields to Alex Lee. Harrisburg applying some high pressure there. And here's Porter.
And this is what Richmond needs, a little bit of possession. Everybody get a little bit more touches on the ball. Not too many people have had touches on the ball in the last 10 or 15 minutes because it's been turnover after turnover. And there's another one. Yeah. I think that was kind of needless there from Jason Yeisley, who's kind of filling in for William Yambi to see if William Yambi can come back onto the field.
And you can tell by the roar of the crowd, Yambi's back on the field.
And might I add, Jason Yeisley is, 2 years ago was kind of a makeshift center back.
And it's a goal for Harrisburg. Morgan Langley takes advantage of the turnover. We've mentioned that, Ryan. There have been a couple of sloppy turnovers from Richmond. And
a little bit of a celebration from Harrisburg. Not too sure exactly what that was, but
it looked coordinated, but that was a really, really nice play from Harrisburg to capitalize on the turnover. Morgan Langley, if you give him an opportunity, he's going to take advantage of it, and he buried it. Ryan Taylor with no chance on that.
Absolutely, and I'm not too sure if that was George Davis IV, but might have misjudged Morgan Langley getting to the ball. George Davis IV kind of swung through as if he was tackling that ball, and flight of feet, Morgan Langley got there before, knocked it around one side of him, and was able to go into the box almost uncontested at that point. William Yampi coming on 5 seconds earlier. Not too sure if he might be a little bit frazzled or not aware of the situation, but Morgan Langley just quick as ever able to get through the box.
Yep.
Fire at back post. Ryan Taylor not able to get over there.
Nothing Taylor could do, and here's another dangerous ball.
Absolutely, and I'd expect to see a little bit more urgency from the Richmond kickers at this point. There's a lot of confidence now with Harrisburg City Islanders.
They're flying all over the place. You're exactly right, Ryan.
High pressing everywhere, seeing if they can win the ball high up and counter again. Almost as if a shark smelling blood in the water at this point. They realize that they can come here to City Stadium, score a goal, go up on top, and they confidence at this point.
And they scored against Orlando last week to get that 1-0 victory, obviously. And when they scored, they didn't. I think the saying is if you're on the road, you tend to maybe park the bus when you're up by a goal. Harrisburg didn't do that. They stayed compact and they were very organized and they countered attack. But talking to Richmond coach Lee Kalishaw, he said Harrisburg absolutely deserved to win that game last week. That wasn't just a fluke 1-0 win. And Harrisburg's a good team. Like I said, maybe one of the better number 8 seeds that we've seen in USL Pro.
And it wasn't a snatch and grab, Mark. It was one of those situations that Harrisburg actually scored a goal 5 minutes before halftime. And good clearance there. But Harrisburg scored 5 minutes before halftime, which is one of the most dangerous times to score because you've got Orlando who goes back into the locker room. I wouldn't say panicking. A team like Orlando or Richmond won't panic when they go into the locker room getting scored on. But there is a little bit more of a panic than there was going in at 0-0 or 5 minutes into the game going 1-0 down. And if I'm not mistaken, Mark, just to kind of talk a little bit about Harrisburg's play against Orlando, Adrian Heath and also Phil Rollins, the owner of Orlando, showed up in Harrisburg's locker room to congratulate them and let them know that they deserve that win. So if that's anything, that gives Harrisburg a ton of confidence to beat what you would call as the best team in the league.
Absolutely.
Who is going up to MLS.
Yes. Yeah, classy move from Orlando. Here's Hardware. Harrisburg, as Ryan said, Harrisburg has all kinds of confidence right now.
And if ever before, they're really going to take the sting out of this game and just keep it as much as possible. And it's going to be on Richmond. It's going to be their onus to come take it off of us. See what you can do. We're going to keep it all day back here.
And Richmond's been down a few times and has come back. They're playing at home, gives them a good opportunity for that, but Noble.
And it has been a bit sloppy from Richmond. And when you go down 1-0 against your opponent, especially at home, and things haven't really been clicking, it starts to show a little bit more. And there's a little bit more urgency and a little bit more frustration coming from all the Richmond Kickers players. So I'd look to see, if some of those players start to get a little bit more frustrated, if Lee Kalishaw starts to get other players up and warming up, almost as kind of a little kick in the butt to say, hey, listen, if you guys aren't going to get this going right now.
Here's Asante with Spitz. Spitz been very, very quiet so far. They normally try to get him the ball much more. Not able to do that so far. A lot of Vercoloni and a lot of Asante. Oh, just over the bar.
And that's a great ball from George Davis IV to Kyle Porter. And you can kind of tell that they're almost on the same page. They're the ones who are coming an inch away from connecting there.
Fans, for scores, stats, news, and more, go to USLProSoccer.com. That's for stats, scores, news, and more, exclusively for USL. Go to USLProSoccer.com. Throw in for Harrisburg. 32nd minute. Harrisburg with a 1-goal lead, 1-0. A great individual effort from Morgan Langley.
And coming into this game, it wasn't too sure if it was going to be Morgan Langley, and obviously back in Orlando, Somebody got ejected. Am I right in saying that?
It was Robbie Dershang, yes.
Yes, Robbie Dershang. And Morgan Langley was the quote-unquote super sub for that game for Dershang. And in this game, Morgan Langley obviously had to step up and really say, hey, Bill Betcher, listen, I'm here.
The turnover. Here's Yeisley. He's in. Noble is out, and it's a goal for Richmond. Jason Yeisley with great composure on that, Ryan.
Excellent finish from Jason Yeisley. And if I'm not mistaken, that ball was turned over almost about midway, and one pass to Jason Yeisley, and he's wide open there. Thought his first touch was taking him a little bit too wide. I thought it was a good first touch as far as weight of it, but I thought it took him a little bit too wide, and he had a small little window to play that pass on Noble's left-hand side. Wasn't too sure if it was going to squeak in that post, but in fact it did.
Jason Yeisley stepping in.
And it's a matter of a lack of focus for these past two goals. It's a turnover, and then 1 or 2, 3 seconds, and boom, it's a goal.
Yeah, uncharacteristic of both teams. As you said, they've been around for so long. They're both very disciplined clubs, and both goals tonight, Ryan, have come off defensive errors.
Yeah.
And we are in the 33rd minute, and it is 1-1, Richmond and Harrisburg. You having fun so far, Ryan?
Absolutely. You know, I was talking about, I thought this would be a little bit more of a slugfest, and, you know, this may bring it out. This may bring both teams awake a little bit and some high pressure, a little bit more urgency to go forward.
Yeah, it was a great ball from Spitz into Yeisley, and I agree with you, Ryan. On his first touch, I thought he might have taken it a bit too wide, and Noble would have had the angle, but Yeisley had maybe about a 6-inch window, and he was able to get that in there.
Hey, what do we know, Mark? We're just commentators up here.
Exactly right. Well, you know, you played for several years. I don't know. And here's Hardware.
And there's that isolating ball out there. Sasha Garris against Morgan Langley.
Good ball from Langley. Drop by Taylor. A little scary there for Richmond. Yep. And here's Porter. And Lee. Well, a few times he's been able to come up. Here's Lee again. He's got George Davis, the fourth, wide open on the far side.
And George Davis, the fourth, able to kind of salvage a little bit there. He looked like he was stumbling, almost trying to keep to his feet. Almost caught Nick Noble by surprise.
Really good work from Alex Lee there, coming up out of that right back slot.
Absolutely.
He's one of the best in the league there, Ryan, and he was able to get that, knock it out. He found Davis, and it was a good opportunity for Richmond. Here's a corner kick.
Almost looked like a lost cause as well, and Jason Yeisley kind of salvaging that as well.
And here's Spitz after the short corner, and another corner for Richmond. And going back, a shaky moment for Brian Taylor there, who's been pretty solid for these last several games coming in, with Joe Willis being recalled back to D.C. And Ryan's a young goalkeeper. Doesn't have a whole lot of experience at USL Pros. A great player in college. He went to Radford and also at PDA. His confidence is getting more and more every game. That was just an uncharacteristic flaw and error from him just a minute ago. And Yambi wins that.
And William Yambi's always been great at finding the ball inside of the box. He's never been that great as far as putting it on goal. You know, and back to Ryan Taylor, Mark. You mentioned he hasn't had too much experience, and I can imagine a couple teams in USL Pro and maybe even NASL are going to be looking at these games and saying, you know what, that's a young player who's gotten a couple games here and there. Maybe we might be able to kind of bring him into our club. He's got a great showcase now, obviously being here in Richmond, playing back up to Joe Willis, learning a little bit from Joe Willis every time. And that's the unfortunate thing as a goalkeeper. You've got to kind of bide your time. And sometimes it's not until 4 years into the league that you actually get your opportunity. And for Ryan Taylor here, it's only his second full season with the club, and he's got opportunities.
And here's Porter. He wins the ball. And Richmond with another corner kick. Another error from Harrisburg there.
And both clubs giving each other a lot of respect off of corner kicks. They're bringing almost everybody inside of the box. I noticed Richmond had done that before, and you've got Harrisburg doing exactly the same thing here. And sometimes when you've got that many bodies in the box, sometimes it's a little chaotic and you've got too many people in there.
Yeah, it's a nightmare for goalkeepers. I believe that's Spit's getting ready to take it. He's trying to get through all the streamers that have been thrown down there from the Red Army.
You're supposed to do that to the visiting club, not your own.
Great support from the Red Army this entire year. Done a great job this week in particular, drumming up support for this game tonight.
Literally drumming up support.
I did not mean to say that, actually. Here's Asante on the right side. Good turn from Davis. Oh, and it's off the post.
And is that the third post they've hit tonight?
Yes. That is the third time they have hit the post. That was a great turn from George Davis IV. I'm not sure where the defender was. He did not seem to expect him to go to his left. I guess he expected him to spin in out just off the post there.
It's a little bit of a snapshot there. Just a quick turn and shot. Kind of caught Nick Noble off by surprise. It wasn't incredibly hard of a shot. It kind of squeaked through and was bouncing through.
And that's great awareness from Davis because when he turned, he did not know where the goal was exactly, but he was still able to get it on frame and off the post there.
Samuel
That's great
Asante,
field awareness there.
And Samuel Asante will say he intended that short ball, which was quite bad. It just happened to be that George Davis IV was kind of in front of the first defender. Otherwise, the first defender's putting a boot through that out of the box.
It was a turnover from Noble on the goal kick. It looks like it's a foul on the far sideline.
And both Kyle Porter and George Davis IV kind of doing a little bit of the same thing, switching back and forth here, whether it just because of corners, and they happen to do that, but they're actually in the process of switching back again. Kyle Porter on the right-hand side and George Davis IV on the left.
There's going to be an outswinger from Gores, and it is. Nope. Yeah. Free kick for Harrisburg. The foul's on Spitz, and I believe that was on Schaefer. Shook Schaefer's hands, so he knows he did something.
And Nick Noble stealing about 5 or 6, 8, 9, 10 extra yards there. Referee asking him to move it back just a bit.
So I think he moved it back a foot.
And then threw it forward another 2. So he gained 1 yard out of the entire thing.
It's semantics, Ryan. Out to Garez. Richmond looking much more composed in the last, basically since they scored that goal. We're in the 40th minute here. 1-1 between Richmond and Harrisburg in the USL Pro semifinal.
Look at this. Harrisburg high pressing. Alex Lee have absolutely nowhere to go. Harrisburg's high pressing. Sees a little bit of Alex Lee's tentativeness as far as where does he go. Harrisburg all of a sudden steps out. And that was a huge cue for Harrisburg. They're not shy. They're not gun shy as far as high pressing at all.
Right. Yeah, they've been doing that with Hardware, Hoppino, and McLaughlin, the three of them, and Langley moving up on occasion. They've done that for a good chunk of this game tonight. Anytime Richmond's been back a little bit, they're not just giving them free balls out of the back, Ryan.
Absolutely, and the key is to make sure that your defenders are coming with you as well. Otherwise, you're leaving a huge pocket in between the forwards, the first line of pressure, and then obviously the defenders. So they've got to make sure that they do that all together. If Richmond can find a way out of that, it's going to be huge as far as counterattacking and finding the space.
And here's Asante. The ball into Yeisley just outside of him.
And Asante looking to make a statement inside of this game as well.
No. Asante again. Out to Porter. Giveaway. Harrisburg. Here comes McLaughlin on the outside. Making a run. And a foul from Porter. McLaughlin's pleading for the yellow card, and the referee says, no, that's just a foul.
And not a poor tackle by Kyle Porter either. He got himself in between Jimmy McLaughlin and the ball. It was just that he kind of tripped himself up to an extent. If he was able just to kind of separate McLaughlin from the ball and turn with the ball, it certainly wouldn't have been a foul. Jimmy McLaughlin I think that Kyle Porter might have slid tackled him there from behind, which actually wasn't the case.
Nope. And as you said, Ryan, as has happened to every free kick, every Richmond player is back behind the ball. There's nobody up top. Here's Hardware with the ball. Service. Here comes Taylor. He's got it.
That free kick, and in the process of that, you've got the Red Army down there who's chanting "Stand up for Richmond" and got the entire crowd to their feet.
They've been doing that the last several weeks. It's a great chant. They've been doing it all week. They've been doing getting all kinds of people to put those "Stand up for Richmond" signs. And it's a goal kick for Harrisburg. But now they've been going around and getting different people in Richmond to hold that, take a picture with Stand Up for Richmond, put it on Facebook, and they even had the governor had a picture of it up today, as well as the mayor of Richmond. So everybody in the state of Virginia is really getting behind the Kickers, and it's good to see, because this is 22nd year, I believe, of the club, or 21 or 22 years. It's great to have this kind of support for this level of soccer. It's great.
Absolutely.
And you've played here, so you know.
Yeah, it's a very good environment to play in, as is Harrisburg as well. Harrisburg, they've got a little deck up there, but Richmond, a little bit more of my favorite place to play.
Here's Porter.
Mark, and nothing against Harrisburg and their place to play. It was just when I played there was a baseball diamond in the corner of the field.
Kind of affects the...
Oh, absolutely.
The aesthetics, doesn't it?
Oh, I couldn't tell you how many times it got fouled by going from grass to to baseball diamond, and how much I tried to give the yellow card to the clump of grass that was there.
Here's Vercoloni. A couple moves. A little bit of contact, but not nearly enough to warrant a penalty there.
Absolutely. Looked like Luke Vercoloni kind of faked himself out of the ball.
Throw in for Harrisburg. Getting ready to enter the 44th minute. 1-1, Richmond and Harrisburg in this USL Pro semifinal, where the winner will take on the winner of the other semifinal game that will be played, I believe, at 10 o'clock or 10:30 Eastern Time between Sacramento Republic FC and LA Galaxy 2.
That's a great game. Sacramento Republic came on strong. Very, very good team throughout the course of the season. Inaugural year as well. Able to draw quite a decent amount of fans. LA Galaxy also inaugural year, putting out their LA Galaxy 2 team.
Yeah, I thought, honestly, of the games that I've done this year, I thought Sacramento was probably the best team Richmond played. I know people are saying, well, they lost to Orlando twice, but I just think Sacramento, from top to bottom, just a very, very strong club led by Preki. Great organization, and
absolutely,
they're a team that's being visited by MLS people, so that could be another future MLS squad.
And Mark, one of the main people within the club is actually a scout and agent. So you'd have to think that he's able to find the most quality talent to come onto his team and kind of make waves with that team.
Absolutely.
A lot of times inaugural clubs may not have the know-how, or may bring in college players that may be good college players and not necessarily experienced pros, but obviously not with Sacramento Republic.
Mm-hmm. Ball won by Harrisburg. Here's Vercoloni, and he finds Porter on the far side. Gives it to Lee and Vercoloni. Little three-man game there. Here's Porter. Loses the ball. Here's Hardware, and this is where Harrisburg's dangerous. They've got the counter. They've got 5 guys up. Here's Hardware again. McLaughlin with a great ball. That's a great. He's onside, looking for Hardware, who finds the back of the net.
And what you've almost got 2 separate games that are going on here. You've got Harrisburg, who's going all the way down offensively, and you've got their defenders who are all the way back here. You've got Jason Yivesley, Kyle Porter, and George Davis IV hanging all the way up, not really helping with defense there. And that's exactly what Harrisburg wants, is they don't want everybody behind the ball. They want to go at Richmond when Richmond's not expecting it, when Richmond gives the ball away cheaply. And Richmond's looking for exactly the same thing against Harrisburg. And that's exactly what Bill Betcher was talking about. We want to play against the teams who are going to be high and wide and be exposed, so we can just counter very, very quickly. And that was a prime example of what just happened right there.
Matt Boehner could get the assist on that run out of the back. There was a great ball from... It was a bad turnover again from Richmond, like you said. And Hardware started that whole thing by winning that ball in midfield and then fought through Asante and Vercoloni to get that ball out to Boehner.
And his strength, his upper body strength this entire game has kind of been key inside of that midfield. You've got Samuel Asante, who's a little bit smaller, Luke Vercoloni, who's a little bit smaller, and you've got Hardware in there who's able to kind of hold those two off and kind of show a little bit more of dominance as far as strength.
And Harrisburg once again with the momentum. as you said, what they did last week going against Orlando, they scored 5 minutes at the end of the half and really gave them all kinds of momentum. They've done the exact same thing here, Ryan.
Absolutely, and that's killer for Lee Kalishaw and his team because everybody's going to have something to say in the locker room about what to solve. You know, as opposed to going in at 1-1 and, you know, everybody being a little bit more passive and kind of working this out together, in my opinion and my experience within the league is you're going to have a lot of players who have a lot of different thoughts, a lot of different frustrations as well.
Well, as you said, it's been a tale of two games for the most part because it looked like after Harrisburg scored, they kind of sat back a little bit, and Richmond took advantage of it, and then they had some momentum. Harrisburg wins it on the counter in their own third of the field, and they're able to get 4 or 5 guys up very quickly. It's a very, very good goal from Harrisburg. Very, very deserved.
Absolutely, and what did we say? 7 minutes into the game so far, Richmond's had a couple different opportunities, hit the post once, a shot or two, but it doesn't mean anything. If you're not converting those opportunities don't mean anything. Shots don't mean anything unless if they're goals. And Harrisburg making the best of their opportunities, not having too many, to be honest, compared to Richmond's, but Richmond hasn't capitalized, and the difference is Harrisburg has.
Absolutely. I think Harrisburg's had 2 chances, really good chances, and have buried both of them. Richmond's had 4, maybe, and have only scored only the 1. So we are at halftime of this USL Pro semifinal with Harrisburg scoring with about 3 minutes left in the half, and they are up 2-1 over the Richmond Kickers. Ryan, real quick, break down the first half.
Yeah, I mean, not to say it hasn't been exciting. It's certainly been exciting. To me, it hasn't lived up to the billing of kind of a slugfest of what I thought it may possibly be. It's been, 15 minutes here, 5 minutes there, but that's where the goals are converted, where people are kind of not focused, and Richmond hasn't been focused the entire time, and they've converted, or Harrisburg has converted, and vice versa.
Okay, fans, well, we hope you enjoyed the first half. We sure did. We're going to take a break for just a couple of minutes. It's halftime of the USL Pro semifinal. Harrisburg leads Richmond 2-1. Stay tuned, folks. We'll be back in just a few minutes. And welcome back to the second half of the USL Pro semifinal between Harrisburg and Richmond. Harrisburg with a 2-1 lead, with that goal coming late in the first half to put them up 2-1. And you know, Ryan, you've been on the receiving end of this and the other side of it. So if you're Harrisburg, what did you say at halftime? And if you're Richmond, what do you say at halftime?
You know, as far as Harrisburg, I think my point of view from up here, and probably Bill Betcher's point of view, is stop giving the ball away, because that's what's causing Richmond to counterattack, and that's giving Richmond an open door back into this game. So if Harrisburg has the ability to tighten up a little bit in defense, tighten up as far as the turnovers go, they'll be all right. As far as Richmond's concerned, that side of the coin is they've got to capitalize on their chances. They've had a couple opportunities, a couple chances. They've been knocking at the door despite not even being that dominant in this game. I think it's very 50-50 as far as, you know, possession and everything to that extent. But as far as not being that dominant within this game, Richmond's had their opportunities. And if Harrisburg does what I said that I think they should do, it will eliminate Richmond's opportunities. And that's exactly kind of what we're looking at. If Harrisburg doesn't limit the opportunities of Richmond, Richmond will come back into this game and kind of ride it through.
Yep. And here we are, started the second half. And just a gut feeling, Ryan, I just don't think this game's going to end at 2-1. I think there's another goal or two to be had in this thing.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I mean, they've both been kind of sloppy, and the chances have almost come out of nothing, to say the least. That I agree with you 100%. And I'd expect towards the end of this game, if it is still 2-1, it's going to get very, very scrappy. Yeah. Harrisburg has the ability to do that. What I like to say, and I always say it as a quote-unquote type of blue-collar team, they work very, very hard for each other. They fight very hard. And Richmond has the ability to do the same thing, especially when they're desperate and down 2-1, almost going out of playoffs at their home field.
Knee Isley. Cleared by Harrisburg. A little hectic pace of this first minute. Everyone's just kind of running around. There's Ekra. Ekra was very quiet in the first half. It didn't seem like he got a lot of opportunities.
He was.
It looked like Hardware was kind of running things, trying to spray it out to Langley and to McLaughlin. And
I think that's kind of the role that Jan Ekra plays, where in the past Jan Ekra was a little bit more of kind of an attacking side. Jason Pelletier obviously used to be that type of player for Harrisburg City Islanders, where he would sit deep, kind of the unsung hero of the team. Ball winner, kind of scrappy. Jan Ekras kind of had to fill that role for Jason Pelletier, but he's got to be a little bit more disciplined, where he's sitting in there and he's doing that exact job, and he's doing it very, very well.
And it's going to be a foul on Isley. And like you said, Ryan, I think if you're Harrisburg, I think you try and keep this game slow, keep it organized, because the longer you can keep this 2-1, you got to think that Richmond players are going to start getting a little more panicked, a little more desperate, because this is it. This isn't regular season. You know, you win or you go home.
Absolutely, and you got to think as well. Can Lee Kalishaw keep his cool? Is he going to let this lineup ride the entire time? Is he going to throw in some changes at about the 60th minute? And if I know Lee Kalishaw, he'll probably get his players warming up in the 60th minute to see what sort of options he may have, and how the game's kind of unfolding at that point.
And you know, he's got some good options. He's got the leading goal scorer, Matthew Delicott, who we've talked about. He's not healthy enough to go for 90 minutes, but Lee told me he thinks he's got about 25 or 30 in him. So you bring on one of the top goal scorers in the league. That's nice to come off the bench. Tashan Hanley's another one. Nate Robinson to come in on the midfield to create some chances. So Richmond's got some opportunities. Here's almost a missed clearance there by Harrisburg. Here's Alex Lee. And Richmond will maintain possession. Just started the second half, 48th minute. Harrisburg leads Richmond 2-1. Here's Yambi. To Vercoloni, out to Lee. Searching ball into Porter. He's found him. Here's Porter. And that's a good block by Harrisburg City. George Davis was looking for the return there, Ryan, and Porter just couldn't find him.
You know, Porter kind of dribbled himself into a corner, and he kept doing a little bit of a stutter step with a fake kick, trying to get the defender to raise his leg, and the defender did exactly what he needed to do. Kyle Porter didn't move the ball enough. it was very in front. It was very very easy to read.
And here's Porter again. Out to Spitz, who loses the ball. And Ekra out to McLaughlin. And here comes Harrisburg on the attack. There's Helpino. Helpino goes to the end line. A little bit too heavy of a touch. Goal kick for... I'm looking at Harrisburg City's bench, and I see one straight forward. That's Garrett Pettis. The other players that are listed on here that I have, Colin Zizzi and Danny DePrima, defenders and midfielders.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and I remember Pettis as well. He's kind of a good target up top. He's able to hold the ball very well. A little different than Hopino. But you know what? They're not going to need a forward if Richmond doesn't score.
I just thought I'd mention that. Besides, it's also funny to hear you say, I know this player. You know every player, Ryan. You either played with everybody, against them.
Not really, Mark. I'm starting to get a little bit older here, where these players are kind of coming in, staying the same age, staying young. I'd like to think that my Sunday League team might be able to hold their own in this game. It'd be a great matchup. We've actually... and not to get too far off topic, but I actually do recruit Richmond Kickers players to my Sunday League team. We try to pay them just a little bit more in hoagies. But as far as the ex-USL pro players that we've got, Ross McKenzie, who played here in Richmond and played in Carolina Railhawks for some time. Stephen Wolf as well, who was a Richmond kicker and former University of Richmond player. Evan Harding, who played for Charlotte Eagles and also played for Richmond Kickers. We've tried to get him in, but unfortunately he's too good for our team. We're just trying to figure out which Richmond kicker is going to retire next so we can hop on the bandwagon and see if we can get him in.
Well, I think we've had Deli and Sasha Guerra's retired for each of the last 3 seasons. They keep showing up. So
yeah.
The searching ball there from Shinosky.
I don't even know if they're paid by the Richmond Kickers. They're just here playing.
Guerra's to Asante. And he finds Porter. And some miscommunication there. Porter thought Garez was going to continue his run. He didn't do that.
Well, I'll tell you, Mark, as far as rivalries go, and I know we mentioned it very, very early on in the game, but there is a huge rivalry not just between the teams, but between the players. You talk about Mike Burke and Mo Odor. And that was a huge rivalry. Mike Burke never really liked Mo Odor. Mo Odor never really liked Mike Burke. And that's where a lot of the rivalry kind of nothing to do about the cities. It had nothing to do about the coaches. It had everything to do about 1 or 2 players that just did not like each other on the teams. And it filtrated all the way throughout the entire team.
Well, you look at the teams that have been here forever. It's Pittsburgh, Charlotte, Charleston, Harrisburg, Richmond. They've all played each other for so long.
Absolutely.
You've had players that have played for more than one team. Here's Harding. And Hardware still with the ball.
Trying to dance his way around Sasha Garris there. Not really working.
Good play from Garris there, taking the ball away from Langley. Here's Yambi.
Very unorthodox slide tackle by Sasha Garris. He was standing still with a little bit of a slide tackle. Usually people are moving and throw themselves at the ground rather than just standing still.
And here's Vercoloni. He was very quiet in the first half. Here's Garris. He's got Davis. Out to Spitz. Davis is able to get through traffic. And the post again for Richmond. That's the 3rd time this evening that they've hit the post. That's twice from George Davis, the 4th.
Incredible. A caroomed right off the post, right back to Nick Noble, who looks to be injured.
Nick Noble does appear to be hurt. You're right, Ryan. He got down. When he fell on that, he was not able to get to the ball at all, but fell awkwardly. Got up immediately, was holding his shoulder.
And very strange as well, the shot from George Davis IV. It wasn't something that was whistling by Nick Noble. It looked like he might have gotten a little bit of a hand or a little bit of a touch on the ball to push it onto the post. Kyle Porter coming in fast and furious for that. If Nick Noble, if that ball would have bounced off the post right to Kyle Porter, that would have been 2-2 right there. It's strange how this game is going. It's not too much momentum, and all of a sudden, out of nothing, and when the game kind of has no momentum going in anybody's favor, that's when the opportunities are coming.
And the opportunities, Ryan, it's nothing is ever really building out of the back. It's
Absolutely.
like a defensive error or just the ball collides off someone's shin and it goes right to the player.
Absolutely.
And that's what happened there with Davis.
You know, and it might be the fact that almost good opportunity here.
Oh, and another save by Noble. That was Davis again. Here's Vercoloni. Saved by Noble. Good sequence there for Richmond. And Harrisburg did well.
Noble seems to be fine.
Maybe just needed a breather.
Yeah, great save by Nick Noble there.
Well, George Davis IV has got to be wondering, what do I need to do? He's been robbed by the post twice, and then Noble stoned him on that effort just a moment ago.
I'd be surprised if George Davis IV doesn't go over to those posts during the corner and kind of try to open them up a bit, kicking them either way. To be honest, I've seen goalkeepers do that. I've seen goalkeepers kicking the posts in. I wouldn't be surprised if George Davis IV is kicking them out.
Here's Yambi. Out to Garez. Shea Spitz, who's guarded by Ekra. And here's Davis again on the outside. Center into Yeisley. It looks like it's over his head. But nope, he does a good job to save it. And winds up getting another corner for Richmond. Good hustle from Yeisley there. Looked like that was going out. And he was able to keep it in and get the corner for Richmond. Here's another opportunity for them.
And Shea Spitz kind of getting on the ball there. He's starting to get a little bit more wide. He's starting to go into different avenues to try to get the ball. He was relatively ineffective in the first half, aside from his pass to Jason Yeisley for the breakaway goal. But aside from that, Shea Spitz not able to really find the ball, and he's trying to figure out how he can do it. And I'm sure that was part of the halftime talk as well.
Well,
how
you mentioned that at halftime when we were downstairs, Ryan.
Yeah.
There's the ball in.
And there it is. William Yambi finding the ball again, just nicking off the side of his head. Not able to redirect it.
Here's Garez with a good move. And the ball got away from him.
Poor service in. Great by Sasha Garris. Just a little touch one way and the other way. And that's what he's so good about. He's so controlled. You know, he's not going 100 miles an hour with the ball, which allows him to kind of plan things out, be a little bit more technical and a little bit more crafty. He split both defenders there, but poor ball in.
And we're in the 57th minute. Harrisburg still has a 2-1 lead over Richmond. Pretty hectic first 12 minutes of the second half. Richmond's hit the post, and Noble has come up with a great save from George Davis. And it looks like Richmond's getting ready to make their first substitution.
Absolutely.
It looks like as though Stephen Basso.
Yes, an ex-Harrisburg player as well, so I know a lot of Harrisburg fans will be very, very familiar with him.
Yep. Now, what's he going to bring to the mix, Ryan?
It's a great question. No, to be honest,
I stumped you.
To be honest, as far as my opinion, Stephen Basso, he's a relatively technical player, as most left-footers are. So whether or not Sasha Garris may be hurting a little bit, whether they're looking to take, and in my opinion, something possibly taking Shea Spitz out, who is a left-footed player, maybe pushing Kyle Porter and George Davis IV into the middle, possibly add a little bit of a cutting edge with one of those two going into the middle, and bring in Stephen Basso as an outside midfielder to whip in some crosses.
Hard touch there.
And right on cue, though, Mark. 57th minute, right around the 60th, is what Lee Kalishaw typically does, typically likes to look for. He'll give his players about 15 minutes after halftime to make an impact, and if he feels as though they're not making enough of an impact, he may make a change. And that's exactly what he looks to be doing here.
And actually, Harrisburg's going to make the first substitution of the evening. Number 14, Danny DePrima's coming in. He's coming in for number 5, Jameel Hardware. That's a bit of a surprise. I thought Hardware's had a very, very good game tonight.
I agree 100%. And it might be something where Hardware is kind of running out of steam. They're looking for a little bit different than what Hardware can offer.
And here's Yeisley trying to holding off Bonner. Does a good job, but Harrisburg's there to clear it.
Yeisley doing very well holding up the ball, but the problem is when he's doing that, unfortunately all the defenders are able to get back into the box and put themselves in a good position and mark up all the players.
And here's Spitz to Garez. Finds Asante, gives him a little bit of breathing room. Good one-touch passing from Richmond. Shinosky out to Lee. Lee service in the middle, cleared once again by Harrisburg.
Those are a little bit, to me, these far distance crosses, not getting to the end line, not taking it down a little bit more at all. Kind of a bit of a desperation tactic by Richmond. The 35-yard crosses from the sideline. It's a little bit of a desperation tactic.
And Steven Basso is coming. He's coming in for number 4. Luke Fercoloni, the captain for Richmond, is coming out. A little bit of a surprise move for you, Ryan.
Certainly. Not too sure what we're looking at there, and Lee Kalishaw actually making a move to put Steven Basso at left back and Sasha Garris in the middle, maybe to gain a little bit more control of the game. Obviously, what you give up a little bit with Luke Fercoloni coming out, who's very mobile, you put in there with Sasha Garris, who's not as mobile, not going to be that defensive workhorse that Luke Fercoloni is. But what you're gaining in return is a little bit more possession-oriented player. Luke Fercoloni making some first 15 minutes, making some poor giveaways, and you're gaining a little bit more of a grasp on the game, possibly keeping a little more possession. And Sasha Garris certainly going to find the ball a little bit more in the midfield, possibly dropping them over the back four.
Well, I was getting ready to ask you that. If Garris is in there, you got to think he's probably going to play a little deeper. That lets somebody like Asante maybe push up a little bit more than he normally does.
Certainly. And I'd look for Sasha Garris with his great left foot just to drop the ball. He's going to be looking for a little bit more longer, cultured balls in behind the defense, which is great because, for the most part, it's been played in front of him. Turn those back four of Harrisburg, make them feel a little bit more uncomfortable, and there's going to be more room in front of them once you do that a couple times.
I guess the only thing is for Harrisburg, like I said, as far as those balls dropping over the top, I think the longer we go, though, Harrisburg's going to want to play a little bit more deep. Might be tougher to get in behind them.
Certainly, but it does open up in front of them as well.
Absolutely.
So you're going to start to open up just a little bit more space there.
They tried that over the top ball. Here's Spitz. Oh, what a great save! And a miss from Yeisley from point-blank range. He was offside anyway. But Spitz had that set up on a platter. You could literally, you could see
Absolutely.
him. His eyes must have been as big as saucers, Ryan.
And I've got to say,
great save by
Shea Spitz winding up for that. I wasn't too sure what he was getting at, but that was a phenomenal strike. Jason Yeisley following that in well, but he saw himself caught off sides. Yep. But to be honest, with that much of a miss and how hard that was to miss, how easy it was to make, that's going to knock on Jason Yeisley's confidence just a small little bit. Even if he's off sides, it doesn't matter. Because he was going at that 100% to make sure that he scored that.
And
you start to wonder, obviously we're here in the 60th minute. Lee Kalishaw's already made one change. You start to wonder, when does Lee Kalishaw start to throw a little bit more of the kitchen sink at it, possibly bring it on to Shan Hanley, who's a wild card, quite frankly.
Yeah. Well, like I said, he's always around. I've followed Hanley. He's played for my PDL club a couple of years ago.
Absolutely.
And he's always seen, like I said, he's always seems to be around the goal. And I think the big thing for Richmond now is you still have 30 minutes. Don't panic. You've had some opportunities. You'll more than likely have a couple more.
Certainly.
You need to panic. And if you're Harrisburg, you want to keep your shape.
You've got Hopino there trying to go all by himself when he can just pull it backwards and keep possession. And those are some of the decisions that you start to question, obviously, up here in the commentators' boxes. Harrisburg's up 2-1. You don't need to go tracking it down, trying to chase a goal here, when Harrisburg can just keep the ball and try to kill this game off and manage it by possession.
And that has been the problem, though. It's almost like they've gone into a little bit of a shell. They haven't really had any opportunities. They've not even really ventured into Richmond's third of the field. So, can you play that for 45 minutes? And that's very tough to do in this league.
And that's a poor step there from Jan Ekra, completely out of the game. And this allows Richmond to counterattack.
A little too far away from Spitz, but Richmond's able to get the turnover. And they have the ball.
And, Mark, here's what I'm seeing from Harrisburg. When they do lose the ball, they do try to win it back quickly, but they're not winning it back quickly as a team. You have Jan Ekra who's stepping there out completely by himself, and it's just a simple, easy give and go.
Ball from Spitz. George Davis, the fourth. Here's Garez. Holding off a couple of players, was not able to get that out. Here's Davis still with the ball. More crazy moments there for Richmond. Harrisburg's able to keep it at 2-1, get that ball clear. Can they hang on for another 27 minutes? Yeah, Harrisburg 2, Richmond 1 in the 64th minute. And there's a foul. And I think we might see our first yellow card of the evening, and yes, we do. Nope. I thought he was going to. I thought he had it, Ryan.
Yeah, and that's Sasha Garris right there at his best. You know, he's very technical. Not to say he's crafty, but he's got the ball right in front of him at all times. He's not running 100%. He's not pushing the ball in front of him and chasing it, where he's got the ball right on his foot. So if a player comes in and dives in at him, he can just shift the ball, and he winds up getting caught. And this is a dangerous situation. Once again, you've got Harrisburg, who's got a wall there, and they've got everybody behind the ball. Nobody's staying high. So they're obviously respecting and trying to keep this this one-goal lead, and they see it as free kicks and set pieces and dead balls as the biggest threat here.
I see Matthew Delicott doing the sideline. Not a good ball on the free kick at all from Davis. Wasted effort there. Like I said, we see Deli warming up. I think we're probably going to see him pretty quickly.
Yeah, you certainly don't want to save a player, obviously, if you're down here. If he can only play 45 or 35 minutes, 45 or 35 minutes is nothing when you've lost.
When you don't go, and you're not going to get an extra 35 minutes after this.
Absolutely. You can't save him for time that may not even happen. And for any of those fans out there, obviously in Harrisburg, or any Richmond Kickers fans that weren't able to watch the Charleston game, it did wind up going to overtime. And Matthew Delicott was the deciding factor on his first touch with a header. Lee Calishaw looking like a genius, putting him on at the end of the game when he's maybe about 80% fit. And his first touch, it was a brilliant flick header. Whether or not Lee Calishaw can kind of come away looking like a genius in this game, putting Matthew Delicott on, having him score a goal, it would be absolutely incredible for the Richmond Kickers. It would be a dream for Matthew Delicott.
The searching ball from Yaisley, a bit away from Yaisley. Noble taking his time.
And Jimmy McLaughlin and Morgan Langley not as active as they were before. Kind of lost a little bit of steam here. Morgan Langley kind of hanging back.
And here's Ekra with his first run in a while. And just plays it back. Harrisburg going to try and keep the game slow.
Absolutely. And this is just good game management possession from Harrisburg.
Absolutely. Back to Langley.
Casual as ever, Morgan Langley. Not trying to go anywhere.
Langley scored the first goal in the match. Langley and Hardware for Harrisburg. And Yaisley for Richmond. That's all of your scoring. It's 2-1. Harrisburg over Richmond in the 67th minute. Crowd getting a little antsy, Ryan.
Absolutely. You know, and Harrisburg's doing a very good job. They're staying very disciplined at this point, letting Richmond have the ball. And it's really on Richmond to bring it to Harrisburg.
There's Basso with his first good real touch of the game. It flanks to Porter. And it's blocked by a Harrisburg player. It's a corner kick. That looked like that was destined for goal, and it went off a Harrisburg player. It looked like that was I believe that was Davis again.
Yeah, it was, and I don't even know if Cody Andrews knew anything about that block. It looked more like it hit him than he did anything about that.
Yep. Another corner kick for Richmond. Short corner to Guerra, a rough first touch there.
And he's on his unfavored right foot. And you know exactly why now it's unfavored. Poor first touch from Sasha Garris. A little bit of a waste on an opportunity from the corner in the 67th minute here.
It was a good idea because Garris was all alone out there, but his first touch failed him.
Absolutely, and might I add, his unfavored right foot
you said that a couple times. So
it was.
You're really emphasizing that he does not like the right foot.
Well, you know, yeah, it's for standing on. What else is that for? But that was his first touch, was with his right foot. I have to add that in there. And it looks as though Richmond's kind of got a little bit of a switch here, and I'm not sure if this is intentional at all. You've got Jason Yaisley, who's playing on the right-hand flank, with Kyle Porter as the lone striker up there. It could potentially be a little bit more of a 4-4-2 or the Richmond's 4-3-3 here.
And if you're Richmond, do you want to? Are you looking at maybe taking out one of those defenders and maybe going to a 3-5-2?
Yeah.
Because at this rate, playing four across the back, and if they're only having one player up,
absolutely. And we saw that And Mark, if you didn't see that today, Liverpool, Brendan Rodgers did exactly that. He took out one of his defenders, brought in another central defender, and made it a 3-5-2 with Raheem Sterling out on as a wing back. So it's a possibility Lee Kalishaw may be looking at doing something like that and changing the entire formation.
Looks like Yeisley's going to take this throw, play it like a corner. He's got a really good throw in. And that's too far.
A little too close to Nick Noble.
Yeah, you want to get those outside of the 6-yard box normally. Maintains possession, keeping the pressure on. Here's... Well, just a little over from Samuel Asante. 70th minute, still 2-1 Harrisburg. Been under intense pressure for most of this half, but they've weathered it. A couple of great saves from Nick Noble. A couple of fortunate deflections and an unlucky post hit again from George Davis IV. That's, I believe, 4 times that Richmond's hit the post this evening, Ryan.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, Mark. I'm a little bit distracted. I'm watching Matthew Delicott down there kind of get ready to go in.
Oh, I thought you were eating potato chips.
That too, yes.
You can see he's getting ready to come in. We figured it would happen, just a matter of when.
Absolutely.
And here's Ekra. A rare foray into Richmond's territory. There's Langley back to Ekra. Nice little game there. Oh, just off Langley's foot there. That could have been the game winner right there, the game clincher. Rather cynical foul from Harrisburg.
And in my opinion there, that's got to be a yellow card. Samuel Asante just cruising right on by. A little bit of what you would call as a quote-unquote professional foul, as much as they can kind of be professional, but very, very intelligent there to take Samuel Asante, who had a full head of steam, ball close to his foot, about to spring a counterattack.
It's a yellow card to number 16, Matt Bonner.
Good decision by the referee as well. And it looked like he wanted to let that play on, see if there was any sort of advantage for Richmond before calling that back. And I can imagine if he did let that play on, he would come back to that and give Matt Bonner a yellow card for sure.
And Basso's wide open on the left side. Asante found him.
Just a little bit too far there.
That's where somebody like a Delicott would really help. There's not a whole lot of size up there for Richmond on those crosses. And like you said, it looks like Deli's going to come in any minute now.
And it looks as though it might be for Jason Yeisley. Kind of a like-for-like type of player there. Matthew Delicott not really going to offer the same work rate that Jason Yeisley has, but I can tell you Jason Yeisley probably ran himself into the ground for the first 71 minutes. Lee Kalishaw looking at it as, what can he really add to the picture once he's exhausted? So it might be a like-for-like as far as size and aerial ability inside of the box.
Yeah, you'll be getting to the point soon where Richmond's going to have to start throwing crosses in, and that's where you want Deli, obviously. That's his strength. Throw in Harrisburg. 72nd minute. Still 2-1. Harrisburg, the number 8 seed. Stunning winners over number 1 seed Orlando last weekend in Orlando. Looking to pull off another upset here against number 4 seed Richmond.
And Harrisburg's no slouch as far as getting to finals. I know they've gotten to a couple finals back in 2007. They lost to the Richmond Kickers here at City Stadium. And I came in that 2008 season in Harrisburg, and there was a lot of ill feelings towards Richmond, not really deserving the win in that final. And I know a few years ago, Harrisburg was also in the finals down in Orlando as well. I have a short memory. I can't remember who they played against or if they won or not, unfortunately.
Now you're making me look bad because I can't remember.
No, it's okay.
Boehner with the turnover. Good composure there from Basso. Looking for Porter. Rough first touch, but he's got to compose. And oh, great work rate from Jan Ekra coming back. A foul on Porter, and the crowd doesn't like that. Richmond doesn't like it either.
Certainly not. I think they can hear that all the way downtown Richmond. The crowd's really, really starting to get into it with about 20 minutes left here.
Full credit to Jan Ekra there. He made the recovery run Was able to get that from Porter. Just used great speed to get that, win that back for Harrisburg, and win the foul. Foul on Harrisburg.
Hopino just kind of pushing his way into Basso right there, trying to be a little bit clever before the ball gets there, just leaning into Basso, trying to put him off balance. Referee saw it and decided to give a foul.
There's Basso again. Looking for Yeisley. Yeisley. Good play there by Marquez. And turns it over. Here comes Asante with the ball, making a run here. Looking for the foul. Wasn't called. Look, some incidental contact. I don't think it was enough really for a foul, Ryan.
Yeah, you know, if Asante's a little bit bigger, you know, he's going to stay on his feet a little bit more. And I think that's what the referee's thinking there. In my opinion, I think he should actually give a foul there because it was kind of incidental contact. Asante's using his body very well in between the ball and the Harrisburg player kind of pushing through him.
Here's Yeisley, still on the ball. Good block there from Langley. And here's Ekra. Harrisburg trying to hold on to this 2-1 lead. And plays it wide. And to Ekra. Harrisburg not in any rush at all.
Absolutely.
About 15 minutes to go. Taylor out.
And if I've seen the substitutes board correctly, it looks as though Kyle Porter is going to be making his way for Matthew Delicott. So they're going to leave some big field here. Another poor giveaway from Richmond.
Good interception from Langley. He's got it. And there's the goal for Harrisburg.
Absolutely.
That is an absolute backbreaker.
And, Mark, how many times have we said that? That's probably about the third or even the fourth goal, all goals in this game that have come from poor mistakes. Richmond has possession of the ball, not really any pressure on the ball. Switched. Bad decision. Bad delivery. All the way over to the left-hand side here for Stephen Basso, and it's a 50-50 ball. And right away, within one pass, they're down in Richmond's 18, scoring a goal.
Yep. Their first real foray. Really good opportunity for Harrisburg's had this half, and again another mistake. You know, we knew this game had another goal in it at halftime.
Absolutely,
Richmond fans were hoping that'd be them.
And you know, Mark, mistakes are what cause goals. No matter what happens, you know, there's somebody who kind of turns off a little bit. Even if it's a fantastic finish, there's always something that could have been done. There's always something where somebody made some sort of mistake. But these are blatant errors. These are blatant turnovers and blatant mistakes that these players should not be making ever.
And here's Hopino up against Yambi. And there's a Harrisburg player that's down in right outside the penalty area.
It looks as though it might be.
I'm not sure what happened. That's McLaughlin, and he's mad. Well, he's really mad about something. I guess he thought he was taken down. And when you're up 3-1, I don't necessarily think you need to be doing that as a Harrisburg player. That's when you can draw a silly yellow card for something along those lines. Just keep your shape. Oh, looking for Deli, was taken by Noble. You know, Ryan, going back like we said, I don't believe any of the 4 goals were ones that were formed in the back and worked through the midfield and anything. They all came off really bad defensive errors.
Agreed. And you know what happens in that situation is you only have yourself to blame. The Richmond Kickers, if they lose this game, they only have themselves to blame. It's not necessarily say we didn't convert our chances, which I have been harping upon. It's more so we were poor in the back. We were poor turning the ball over. We weren't smart in keeping it.
Here's Yeisley, and he gets a corner. 78th minute, 3-1 Harrisburg over Richmond. Corner kick Richmond. You still have 13 minutes and some stoppage time left.
You know, Mark, and back to the point about, you know, Richmond converting their chances. It would have been great for everybody at the stadium if Richmond converted all their chances, and it was an out-and-out slugfest. But very rarely do you see a 4-3 game. It's more about the defensive errors and the defensive mistakes.
Here's the corner. Here's Asante. And he plays it out to Davis. And another corner. The Richmond fans next to us thought that was going in.
Oh, yeah. For the next 12 or so minutes, this is all it's going to be. Yeah. It's going to be dumping the ball in the box, seeing if they can get some sort of, lucky opportunity or a head on it. Harrisburg, it's going to take a total team effort to make sure that they keep Richmond off the board and from coming back.
Another poor corner. That's like the third or fourth time Richmond's not been able to clear the first defender. And another headed away again by Harrisburg. Richmond with the pressure this entire half. They've hit the post. Noble's come up with a couple of great saves. Harrisburg's really only had one good opportunity, and they've scored. And there's a goal. It's not over yet, Ryan.
Absolutely.
And look who it is.
Connor Shinosky. Connor Shinosky coming up big from the back there, just beating Nick Noble to the ball. Nick Noble thinking he can get there a little bit quicker, tries to get a punch on it. Connor Shinosky, I'm not even sure if he was really trying to hit that as a glancing header. He was past the near post and able to at least redirect that in the direction of the goal, and sure enough, it does wind up going in. And you've got a wild card coming on here as far as a new player for Richmond Kickers.
And then look, Matthew Hall's coming on for Alex Lee.
Absolutely. And he's a late season pickup, maybe a mid to late season pickup, and he's going to add a lot of pace down that right-hand side.
Yeah. Hall and Basso both basically brought on in the last month or so of the season.
Now, at this point, it's still going to be exactly that. It's just going to be dumping the ball into the box, getting it on the wings, and just dumping it in as much as they can. They've got big bodies in Jason Yeisley and Matthew Delicott for that exact reason.
Folks, hold on to your seats. We've got about 10 minutes plus stoppage time left. 3-2 Harrisburg going into the 81st minute. What a game. You know, this is our last broadcast because the winner of this game will go out west to play Sacramento or LA. I tell you what, Ryan, thanks for being here, man. This has been a fun one.
Absolutely.
See what happens when Mike Neville goes missing?
I'm chewing on my potato chips nervously here.
And here's a turnover.
You know, Mark, and I haven't said this before, but regardless of who wins this game, I've got some sort of stake invested in either of these two teams. So if anyone tries to tell me that I'm biased in this game, they're sorely mistaken.
You absolutely are not, my friend. There's an effort there. Harrisburg looking for the kill shot there. Didn't do it. Here comes Sasha Guerres. Here comes Richmond again. Rough ball there, but still somehow he gets it to Davis. Drops it off to Asante. Deep run there. Comes Davis again. Good ball.
Fantastic ball. It was bouncing on him a little bit, and that takes a lot of technique and a lot of skill to watch that ball onto your foot.
Spits out to Guerres. He's got 1v1 against Langley. Just not quite there. Good defense from Langley. And Hopino's chasing Yambi back to Taylor, who outside of the goal, Taylor's had almost nothing to do in the second half. Out to Davis, the fourth again. He's 1v1. Now he's got the second man down there. They're double down on him. And Harrisburg comes away with it.
And Harrisburg can't do anything but just dump it. You've got Hopino, who's kind of wasted and spent all of his energy kind of on the far side, and they couldn't find him. They've just dumping it out at this point, trying to hold on to this game.
Are you surprised Harrisburg hasn't made any additional subs, Ryan?
You know, at this point, not really. I think Hopino might be the only person who may need something. If you bring in Pettis in there, maybe he might rush William Yambi and Connor Shinosky a little bit more, but that's probably the only change I'd look at. But, you know, with Hopino, what you've got is a little bit more pace up there. Somebody who's able to kind of take the ball into the corner and turn all of Richmond Kickers' backs to their own goal.
Boehner to Andrews.
And Jan Eckler staying very, very disciplined and shielding his back four and shielding the two center backs there.
I'm not sure what that was, Ryan. It looked like it was a pass back, and there was just massive confusion on Harrisburg's part.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's almost a horrible error, but Richmond with another corner. They've not been very good on corners tonight. Guerra is very good on set pieces. Needs to clear that first defender with this one. He's got the bodies in there. Shinaski, Yambi, Deli, Yaisley. And
absolutely.
Every player from Harrisburg is back. Yambi wins it. And cleared by Harrisburg. Davis the fourth. 84th minute. 3-2 Harrisburg.
And this is where Harrisburg's a little bit more dangerous.
Yep, here's McLaughlin.
Samuel Asante just not able to stay on his feet throughout the course of this second half. And that might be
a bad giveaway from Yambi there. Good play, heads-up play by Taylor. I said just an uncharacteristic, another bad ball from Richmond almost led to some trouble there. Here's Shinoski. Oh, good ball from Yaisley into Deli. And it's another corner for Richmond. And Hugh Roberts is getting ready to come in for Richmond. Another big body. So, again, that's telling me these last few minutes, they're just going to start throwing balls in from the side.
Oh, absolutely. And it's very, very rare for Lee Hallishaw to have both Matthew Delicott and Jason Yaisley in the box at the same time.
From Spitz. Here's Noble with the punch. And Harrisburg's able to hold on to it. Cleared it for just a moment.
And Harrisburg is very, very hesitant to go forward at this point because they know the ball is coming right back into the box.
Shot from Guerra's another block from Harrisburg. And goal kick. Off of Yambi. Yambi's not exactly the guy who's going to be out on the flank sending balls in anyway, Ryan.
Certainly not.
And it looks like Jason Yaisley's going to be coming out here for Hugh Roberts. No, it's not Yaisley.
Connor Shinoski.
Shinoski, who's mad at himself, but... And just how draining this game is. The players that are coming off are just beside themselves, upset. And just great energy. What a great game this has been. Yambi with another winner. And Harrisburg right now is just trying to clear the ball and regroup.
Absolutely.
Hang on, we're in the 87th minute.
And I tell my U12 players this exact same thing. If you just lash at the ball and boot it all the way down into the field, you're going to have the pressure come right back on you. And it's very evident from here. But you know what? These players have played 86 minutes of this game so far. Almost all of them. Not every single one. But you have all these players playing, and all they want to do is just get a little bit of a breather. So they're going to lash the ball out of bounds. Very obvious from up here that they should keep the ball, waste a little bit more time. That's how they gain a little bit more of a recovery and gain their breath back. But you know what? As Harrisburg, it could possibly cost them if they give the ball back to the Richmond Kickers every time they win it.
Exactly. We've got a substitution. Number 9, Garrett Pettis is in, and he's come in for number 27, Antoine Hopino.
And that's a good move because Garrett Pettis is going to be up here working like a horse trying to track down William Yambi and force him into errors exactly like that. Jan Ekra, smart enough. Can he keep the ball? That is the major thing here.
Ekra does a good job of doing just that. And still holds on to it. This is good from Harrisburg.
Absolutely. It's allowed them to relieve a little bit of the pressure, get into Richmond's own end. And once they do that, they can bring the ball right back out. But unfortunately, they've turned it back over to Richmond.
But like you said, just that 30 to 40 seconds takes a little bit of heat off that back four. Well, I would say back four, but it's basically a back 8 right now. Here's Davis. 3 Harrisburg players around him. Got to switch that ball quickly. Here's Yambi. Going to Asante. Into Basso. Back to Guerres. And there's a foul off the ball. Basso was taken down. And Langley's saying that Basso initiated contact, but it looks like it's going to be a Richmond kick.
Absolutely not, and I think that's a good ploy from Morgan Langley I have a feeling exactly what he did was grab Stephen Basso because he knew it was kind of an okey doke where Stephen Basso let Morgan Langley come on in, play a 1-2 around him. Morgan Langley didn't want to get beat with the give and go, grabbed onto Stephen Basso and drug him down a little bit. Now, whether injured, I have no questions, but obviously he's trying to avoid a little bit of the yellow.
And he doesn't avoid the yellow. And the referee's telling him for time wasting, he's got to step off the field. Referee's saying, I'm not having that.
Oh, absolutely.
If you're hurt and you stop the game, you have to come out.
As soon as the trainer comes onto the field, he's got to get off the field.
Yep. And here's Garez with the free kick. Everybody's in there for Richmond. Good cross. And Hugh Roberts. Oh, a save off the line. Here's Davis again.
And it was deflected, so it is going to be a Richmond corner. William Yombi with almost a back heel effort, just didn't make enough contact on the ball.
I did not see he cleared that off the line for Harrisburg, but again, living dangerously. 90th minute, 3-2 Harrisburg.
Morgan Langley cannot get back on the field. The referee has not waved him on. Well, you know what? To be honest, that's Morgan Langley's fault. Shouldn't have gone down injured if he didn't actually have an injury.
And here's Spitz with the ball. Sends it in. And Ekra just clears it for Harrisburg. We should be seeing the amount of stoppage time any moment now. I'm thinking we're going to have at least 3, maybe 4 minutes, Ryan.
Absolutely.
And that ball from Spitz gets away from him a little bit, and Noble gathers that.
Nick Noble's going to look to hold on to this ball and just put it all the way down into the corner.
We have got 5 minutes of stoppage time in this game. 5 minutes left in the season for Richmond unless they're able to draw a level.
Matthew Hall making a meal out of this and going all the way back into his corner.
And there's craziness there, Ryan Taylor. And another bad turnover from Richmond. There's Langley with the ball.
It's a bunch of costly errors that are now coughed up the ball by Richmond kickers, and Harrisburg's able to put their foot on this and waste a little bit more time.
Hall made a miscue down there. He sent it in to Taylor, and Yambi, he thought the other was going to get it.
Absolutely.
So neither one of them did, and it caused havoc there. That's a waste of about 30 to 45 seconds. Here's Hall. We'll try this again. Here's Taylor. On Taylor's kick there, but throw in for Richmond. It's Roberts. Out to Yambi. And Yambi needs to get rid of that. It's not his forte is taking players on. So here's Sante to Roberts. Roberts. Looks like out to Garez. Ball into the middle. Clear it out by Andrews. And there's Pettis with the release ball there. Looking for McLaughlin, just couldn't get it out there.
And this is extremely difficult for the Richmond kickers to try to break down Harrisburg, not only because they're all behind the ball, but because Richmond kickers don't have much movement up top. They've got 4 or 5 guys that are standing along the back line, which makes it so difficult.
Ball from Spitz. Goal kick. I think everybody in the stadium thought that was a penalty, but no, the referee's not going to award that at this point in the game. There's some incidental contact there. High drama in Richmond. About 3 minutes left in stoppage time. 3-2 Harrisburg. The winner goes west to play either Sacramento or Los Angeles.
And I'll tell you, Bill Betcher as well also said this is our time. Richmond's had their time as far as beating us inside of the finals in 2007, in 2009 inside of the semifinals. He said this is our time.
There's Asante making the run out of the back. He's got Hall on the right, and he finds him. Hall looking to center that in there. There's Davis the fourth with Garez. Good defense from Harrisburg to anticipate that. And they just knock it up again. Taylor strays far from his goal to come out and get that. They're going to try it. Maybe Richmond's got maybe 2, maybe 3 opportunities left. Here's Asante. Out to Davis. And a Basso. Cleared by Harrisburg.
And everybody on Harrisburg inside of their own final third as soon as the ball gets delivered in.
Taylor sends it up. And another good play there from Langley. Just kicks that down in the corner. Everything takes about 10, 15, 20 seconds off the clock.
Bill Betcher furiously looking at his watch every 5 seconds, hoping that each time he does, it's been 30 seconds gone off the clock.
And from Sante, I don't think that's what he meant to do. Noble taking his time. Thinking that maybe there's a minute left for Richmond. One last opportunity. Here's Spitz. Good high pressure from Harrisburg. Really good pressure there from Harrisburg. And just a reach there. Now Spitz was fouled, and he retaliates by grabbing the player around the neck. It's getting a little, like you said, Ryan, it's going to get a little chippy.
Absolutely. And that's what you
typically it's going to be a yellow card to Spitz.
Sorry, Mark. And that's typically what you expect from Harrisburg. You know, obviously kind of trying to get underneath of the skin of Richmond, and it's taken this long for it to happen. Harrisburg has always been that type of team.
This might be the last gasp for Richmond. Here's Garez. I'm surprised Ryan Taylor's not up there. Send it in the middle. Davis again, and over the top.
And he was always leaning back. He was always trying to snatch at that ball. And there's nowhere it could go other than just up and over. It was always rising.
And the official is telling Noble to hurry it up, stop time wasting.
Bill Betcher looks like he's signaling he's got some sort of mosquito on his wrist. He keeps tapping it.
And that is the ball game. That is your final score.
And right away, as professional as both coaches are, Lee Kalishaw and Bill Betcher extremely happy in a huddle with his coaches, breaks away from that just to go shake Lee Kalishaw's hand.
Well,
very, very professional.
As you said, yeah, they're two very professional teams, professional coaches who have a long history. They might not be the best of friends, but there's an enormous amount of respect there. And between the two clubs as well, they're all high-fiving and shaking each other's hands.
Absolutely.
Very, very. I mean, Ryan, I've had a blast. This has been a very, very good game. Harrisburg 3, Richmond 2. Looked like when Richmond had the momentum going forward, Harrisburg gets that killer third goal to go up 3-1, and Richmond's able to get back to at 3-2, but they just couldn't break them down those last 15 minutes, Ryan.
You know, it wasn't a perfect example of how a game should be played as far as mistakes. There was plenty of mistakes, but it was a very, very entertaining game, and the goals were very good goals as far as their finishing, but what really made this game was all of the mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had a great time doing this season, Ryan, and I haven't seen you for a little bit, but you've been up here several games. You have family and stuff. Like, you're a retired player, so you have things going on. But real quick, before we break out, first of all, talk to me about Harrisburg real quick going forward. They're going to have to go west. They're the number 8 seed. I tell you what, in my personal opinion, they kind of remind me of the LA Kings when the Kings won the NHL championship a few years back, coming in as the 8th seed. Nobody gave them any chance, but they played solid defense. They got the goals that they needed to get. Harrisburg seems to be... I know it's not the same thing. I know. People are going, what are you talking about?
Mark, I have absolutely no idea. Did the LA Kings play baseball, basketball? I have no idea what this is.
You know, yeah, I know you do. But you know, they seed, and you know they were able to get it going at the right time, and that's what Harrisburg seemed to do. They got it together later in the season. They go down, they beat Orlando, a deserved win. Quite honestly, I think they deserve tonight's win as well, and they're going to the championship.
Yeah, and this league is very, very difficult. You've got a lot more teams coming into this league, and you've got the steady performers in Richmond, in Harrisburg. You've got those steady performers in Charleston as well. So you've got those steady performers. I had no doubt that Harrisburg in the beginning of the season, with a little bit of a rough ride here and there, that they scraped into the playoffs. But sometimes those teams that do that are the ones who kind of don't take it for granted as much and really put their heart on the line, and that's everything that the Harrisburg City Islanders are all about, wearing their hearts on their sleeves, putting as much effort into it to get the result.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, Richmond just didn't have it tonight, made way too many mistakes. And, those early goings of the first 10, 15 minutes of them not capitalizing comes back to haunt them, and they couldn't kind of keep the door closed for Harrisburg.
Yeah. Richmond had, like you said, they had their opportunities. They hit the post on 4 occasions tonight. So sometimes that's just the way the soccer gods it goes. And Nick Noble coming up with a couple of really big saves as well. So this game could have easily been a 5-3 game or something.
Absolutely.
The ball bounces a little bit differently. But Harrisburg City Islanders 3, the Richmond Kickers 2. Harrisburg City, they will play their winner of the Sacramento Republic FC LA Galaxy 2 game, which will be coming up, I think, in about an hour or so on YouTube. So I'm going to drive home real quick and watch that game, see what happens there. But this is our final broadcast for the 2014 season for the Richmond Kickers. And although Mike Neville couldn't be here tonight, he wanted to make sure everybody knew how much he's enjoyed bringing these games to you this year. And Ryan, we appreciate you being here for several games and giving us your expertise. We have had an absolute blast, everybody. I am so happy, and this is, I've done television for a long time, but this is the first time I've really been able to do this kind of stuff. I've had a blast, and I thank everyone for their patience at home with us. Sometimes you get a little excited, but we have had an absolute blast, and we will see you guys next year, hopefully. So, once again, the final score from City Stadium in Richmond, Virginia: Harrisburg City Islanders 3, Richmond Kickers 2. Take care, everyone. Have a great night.